the Dolly Sods wilderness of West Virginia, a tract of territory marked by natural wild beauty and a rugged landscape. To those who walk its trails, an amazing diversity is soon discovered, from waterfalls to hemlock groves to open meadows. It's a constantly changing scene of striking and sometimes lonesome beauty. For years I've been told that I needed to hike the Dolly Sods. A friend took me there for the first time in April of 2022, and I immediately knew I wanted to return to explore it myself. The changing leaves were my signal to make the trip. It's only about a 2-hour drive for me. It's not bad at all. And so under gray skies, I set out to spend 3 days and 2 nights exploring the famous Dolly Sods wilderness. Today's plan was to park at the Blackbird Knob trailhead and then hike west into the wilderness. After establishing a base camp below Blackbird Knob, I would then do a lollipop hike by setting out north and slowly making a counterclockwise loop in the northern section of the forest. I would close up the lollipop and hike the stem back to my base camp for the night. Because I was only hiking about 2 miles to camp, weight wasn't a consideration for this trip. So I was pleased to take almost anything I wanted with me. In addition to my backpack, I would carry a smaller day pack so that I could make my daytime ventures. One thing you learn really quickly is that you need to get used to the mud. It follows you everywhere in the sods. You just have to deal with it. Another thing about this place is that there are no bridges across the many streams. You have to find your own way across the water. It's not always easy, and if the water is high enough, well, you may have to take off your shoes, roll up your pant legs, and just walk through it. After finding a nice clearing beside a rolling stream, I set up what would be my base camp. My original plan had been to stay 3 nights, but my schedule was cut unexpectedly short, and so it was only going to be a 2-night trip. Instead of moving camp each day, I had decided to find a central location and do my exploring from there. This would eliminate having to carry everything the entire time and free me up a bit to do some exploring off-trail. After establishing my camp, I packed a lunch, some snacks, and rain gear, and set out northward. It felt nice to hike with practically no gear on my back. It was like flying compared to my usual backpacking trips. In 1852, David Strother wrote about the Dolly Sods that it was a country containing from 700 to 900 square miles, entirely uninhabited, and so savage and inaccessible that it has rarely been penetrated even by the most adventurous. Sure, it's not that wild any longer, but the current landscape still hints of its once untamed history. What I found most intriguing is the open meadows and fields. One could be walking through dense forest and moments later find yourself out on the plains, walking through fields of small brush and wild shrub. It's always nice to walk with a view. Today's weather would be the least inviting of the 3 days, yet the temperature was perfect for hiking, and though the gray skies hinted at the possibility of a shower, it never came. There wasn't a shortage of water on this trip. Hurricane Ian had just ravaged the south and sent rains up this way. But I've heard that it's almost always common to find water sources here, even in the summertime. On this first day, I encountered only a few people during my wanderings. Occasionally, I would pass someone walking in the opposite direction. We would exchange pleasantries and maybe talk about the weather or prime camping spots. However, I found it mostly quiet as I moved along, which suited me just fine, leaving less to distract me. After returning to base camp, I relaxed and read over the map in order to decide where I wanted to drift tomorrow. It's nice not having a tight schedule or strict itinerary. I then prepared a hot meal. When it was ready, I relaxed into my camp chair. The chair is a luxury that I rarely have out on the trail. But since I didn't have to carry it with me all day, I found it the perfect piece of gear out here in the Dolly Sods. A bit of comfort in an otherwise rugged world.
This world is gonna break your heart.
Morning came on time, and after retrieving my suspended food bag, I started a hot breakfast of oatmeal and coffee, and then filtered some water for the day. Since water was in no short supply, I didn't carry much with me, just enough to get me from stream to stream, source to source. Afterwards, I prepared some grub for my walk, loaded my small pack into its assigned position, and set off. The plan today was to first ascend Blackbird Knob to explore the peak and then return to the trail. I would then hike south, but avoid crossing Red Creek, and then turn westward and then north before turning eastward and closing up the loop. The morning sun sprinkled light down on the trail before me as I strolled through the hemlocks, which had assembled around me for my stroll to reach the main trail. I soon reached what appeared to be Blackbird Knob. However, the trail completely disappeared and I was left scratching my head. One moment I was walking the path, and the next I was standing in the forest with no sign of it anywhere. The trail had simply vanished.
This world is gonna break your heart.
I returned to the main trail and soon came across a cascading waterfall. There's something about water, isn't there? A bit later, I broke out of the woods to take in a breathtaking view of the valley before me. The vibrant colors seemed to dance in the bright sunlight. And yeah, there was the mud. I never seemed to wander too far from its murky shadow. I have found a notable tranquility extended to me whenever I hike alone. I enjoy the company of others, yet I crave the stillness that comes from hearing my own footfalls and measured breathing within these wooded walls.
Strange what desire will make foolish people do.
And I don't believe that one can escape feeling just how small you really are in places like this. There's a wideness to God's forest.
And I never dreamed that I'd lose somebody like you. No, I don't wanna fall in love. No,
I decided to detour off the trail again and ascend Lion's Head to see if there was a view there and to find a place to relax and perhaps eat lunch. Again, the trail was difficult to find and hard to follow, and occasionally disappeared completely from my view. I knew I was close to the top, but it was hard going, and with no small effort, I finally reached an opening. However, I had navigated to a point beneath the famed outcrop. I was satisfied and decided to stop here. In the warm sun, I sat down to rest. The effort to reach this point was worth it. From my perch, I had an excellent view of the Dolly Sods below and around me.
to let me dream of you. What a wicked
Sometimes the forest can seem claustrophobic, and so you begin to long for a place with a view, where you can breathe, relax, and take in the vastness of the area. This place offered exactly that, and I soaked up the moment while I enjoyed my lunch and some recently harvested water.
I don't wanna fall in love. It's gonna break your heart. No, I don't.
I was somewhat surprised that I had this location to myself. On a day as brilliant as this, I would have thought many would be clamoring to sit where I was sitting, to see what I was seeing. But I was alone, and I felt no regret.
With you. It's gonna break your heart. With you.
When I was satisfactorily refreshed, I returned to my toil of walking. The forest, almost glad to see me, seemed to swallow me back up again, leaving nothing but a memory of my time up on the rocks.
With you. Nobody.
At a slowly moving brook, I stopped and replenished my water supply. The water was running clear and clean, and unlike some sources, left no aftertaste.
Was on fire and no one can save me but you. And it's strange what desire will make foolish people do. And I never dreamed.
As the afternoon wore on, I turned north and then east, moving steadily back toward camp. I encountered a number of other hikers moving in directions as various as the trails, but I remained mostly alone with plenty of time and space to enjoy my surroundings.
No, I wicked game to play to make me feel this way? What a wicked thing to do, to let me dream of you. What a wicked thing to say. You never felt this way.
With an abundance of light left, I reached camp and was pleasantly surprised that no one had settled in around me while I had been away. I had this little corner of the forest all to myself. The rest of the evening would be spent welcoming the growing darkness and relaxing in the perfect stillness of nightfall in the woods. Morning reached her hand into my hammock and shook me quietly. I dutifully arose and retrieved some coffee that had been suspended safely all night and was soon revived by its warmth. Soon sunlight began filtering through the forest wall, suggesting to me that it was going to be a glorious day. My body collected some needed calories from my oatmeal as I contemplated the day's plans.
Love sources in a boyfriend too, It's a long day.
I then broke down camp and packed my gear. I had decided to carry it all with me today rather than backtrack to get it later. I figured this would allow me to expand my reach of travel in the Dolly Sods and take in more of the area on my final day.
I'm a bad boy for breaking her heart, and I'm free, free falling, falling, and I'm free.
Today's plan was to leave my campsite and travel as far west as I could before turning northward to the uppermost point of the Sods. I would then put a bead on the eastern horizon and make my way across the wilderness until I reached the service road and finally my vehicle.
Stand in the shadows and all the good girls, a whole broken heart.
As soon as I broke free from the woods, I had to shed a layer. This turned out to be the sunniest day of the three, making the autumn colors the most vibrant and my walk its most remarkable. It also was the day that I would spend the most time hiking with no canopy above me but the great blue Dolly Sods sky. It's hard to describe just how much I enjoyed walking out in the open fields. I love walking in the woods, I really do. But I found that I enjoyed a certain pleasure of walking in the open, where I could see all around me, feel the warmth of the sunshine, an unrestricted breeze, and easy forward movement.
Free falling, yeah. I wanna glide down over Mulholland. I wanna ride her name in the sky. I wanna free fall out into nothing. I'm gonna leave this world for a while, and I'm free, free falling, and I'm free.
After turning east, I began searching for a place to eat lunch. I was encountering now a steady stream of people coming in to see the sights, and so many of the rocky ledges were taken by those excitement-fueled hikers. So I pushed on. Finally, I settled for a quiet place nestled in the woods, where the sun had lit up a rock for me, a perfect place for my feast.
Loves her mama, loves Jesus in America too. She's a good girl, crazy about Elvis, love so.
And then it was time once again to move on. There was more to see, feel, and hear. There was more air to breathe, more life to live, more goodness to lay claim to. I was compelled to move on.
It's a long day living in Reseda. There's a freeway running through the yard, and I'm a bad boy, 'cause I don't even miss her. I'm a bad boy for breaking her heart, and I'm free. Free falling, falling, and I'm free.
Eventually, I reached the forest road and the end of my hike.
Free falling, falling.
It was time to say, see you later to the Dolly Sods, and return to life richer, fuller, and in every way better.